And now for a taste of things to come.
A great slam and then some. It's on.
It's time for the new Game On podcast. We're celebrating our favorite games.
Falcon Punch!
Mamma mia!
Finish him!
It's a little bit of the old,
You're good, but I'm better.
a little bit of the new,
I am assuming direct control.
and everything in between.
But enough talk! How about you?
Let's get things started.
Get more from your gaming habit with Jeff Johnson.
Game on! Game on! Game on!
And it's the new gaming podcast with the new Game On podcast with Jeff Johnson. Never screwed up the title before, but there we go. We are in the new Game On podcast's 15th episode, and shout out here for the Runaway 4. I'm playing their Beach Party music right now. Great track from one of their albums. Be sure to check out the Runaway 4 when you get a sec. It's some great stuff there. First off, thank you for joining us this week. We didn't have an episode last week just because, it's summertime. Lots of stuff starts coming up in my world at this time, especially since last Wednesday was my son Logan's birthday. So I basically spent the day sort of getting things ready around the house, getting things ready for, our sort of small COVID party. The best way to put it, small COVID-19 related party, simply because obviously we didn't have many people come out for it. We had his grandparents were there, his auntie was there, and the main family was there as well. So, I mean, just looking at that, it was just small numbers. We had some fun with it. He got Lego for his birthday, so that led to some multi-hour Lego fun for him. And, of course, water fights, because that's what my boy does, a lot of water fights. In any case, that's where I was last week, and honestly, I'd do that again, because I've said this in years past with covering anything with my show, with the podcast, with the YouTube channel. Summer is always sort of my busy time because I want to enjoy the time with family, enjoy the time with my kids. And so my content gets a little bit slower at this time. So if you notice, we've sort of been every other week for the podcast at this point. That'll probably speed up as we get back into the fall months, but we'll see what happens. In any case, this week, I have an idea that I'd like to run by you. Also, I haven't even introduced myself yet. I'm Jeff Johnson. I've been hosting the whole Game On thing for 9 years now. 9 years. That's pretty crazy when you think about it. But I've got a big idea that I'd like to run by you, and I'm pretty much calling this a license to print money. Last episode, we talked about all the different varieties of Minecraft games. And what I'd like to propose to you this time, I mean, we have Minecraft Story Mode, we have the main Minecraft game, we have Minecraft's Dungeons game, and that's all fine and good. But I would like to propose a Minecraft RPG. And my whole basic principle behind this is mixing what we have already with Minecraft with RPG Maker. And to me, that would be incredible. Absolutely incredible. And we'll talk about that as we get into the episode. Like I said, it's a license to print money, and we'll get into that. I've also got a few games I want to talk about that I've had a chance to play the last little bit. This includes Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 2 and Knights of Pen and Paper +1 Deluxier Edition. It might sound Deluxier, but I'm not too sure. We'll talk a little bit about both those games. And just a reminder, you can always view my GG app to see what games I've been playing the last little bit, what games I'm into, what games I've beaten, that sort of thing. And you can also see my full collection, my pile of shame, and, of course, my top 100 list. That's all available. The link is in the description. So that's what we're getting into this week. We're talking Minecraft RPG. We're talking Bloodstained, and we're talking Knights of Pen and Paper. This is the new Game On podcast.
Hey, this is David Hayter. I'm the voice of Solid Snake, and you're watching Game On. So pay some damn attention.
You know what they say, when life hands you lemons.
Do a
barrel roll.
And when you want to know about your favorite games, listen to Game On with Jeff Johnson.
You're listening to the new Game On podcast. Now back to the couch with Jeff Johnson.
And we're back. It's another segment of the new Game On podcast. I am Jeff Johnson. And yes, I've been on one heck of a Minecraft kick lately. I gotta blame my kids for this one, because they've got into the game, they've been playing the game, they've been having fun with the game. All three of them, actually, which is kind of amazing, because, I mean, really, I've got a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, he just turned 5 last week, and a 8-year-old, well, she'll be turning 8 in October, but basically, really young kids, all of them into playing Minecraft, and it's neat to see just where things are getting at with what they're creating. Just the different houses, the different tunnels, that sort of thing. And so I see them build these different houses. I see them build like tunnels, or in my son's case, burn down houses with lava because he likes to do that. I see them do these things and I think to myself, man, I could really do something like that. I could do it at a bigger scale. And so I started building, and like last week I told you about building a castle. Well, since that time I've built a moat for the castle, I built a farm for the castle, a little village inside the castle walls was also built. I also built a giant watchtower for the darn castle. From there, I built a garden, I built a sort of fieldlands farm to go with the livestock farm. I built open lots for people to build houses. I ended up building a tunnel under the place that goes to the bottom of the ocean. Like, we're talking next level crap. I built a moat around the moat. Like, it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. And the thing I think about it, when I see these kind of worlds, the one thing that I kind of regret with a game like this is the fact that there is no way to sort of create a story behind it. I mean, I know Minecraft is not sort of geared towards that whole story mentality. It's basically just, here's the world, go build whatever you want. Go explore however you want. Go do whatever you want. That's what Minecraft is about. It's kind of like Lego in that way. But when you're playing these things and you start thinking to yourself, oh man, I could have this be a part of it. Like, I could see, like, there being guards in the towers here. I could see all these different things happening in this world. It got me thinking, because we've seen varieties of Minecraft games over the years. And Xbox, obviously, Microsoft has been sort of exploring these different types of Minecraft games that they can do. Hence why we got Minecraft Story Mode with Telltale Games. Hence why we got Minecraft Dungeons pretty much right out of the gate once they bought the company behind Minecraft. And it gets me thinking, like, they like the idea of putting a story to these things and giving it this fantastic element. Let's take it one step further. Stick with the whole building system that you know. Stick with this whole, you can build the world however you like it thing. And add in the systems that we see in RPG Maker. And call it Minecraft RPG. So while you're out there placing all of these different buildings, or building fields, or building moats, or burning down houses, or whatever you're doing in the game, while all of that's happening, you can also place down people, or monsters, or mobs, or whatever. You can, yes, you can place mobs, but I mean, like, actually storied encounters with these mobs. So, like, when you build this castle, you could place a king in the throne room who would send you on a mission. And then when you place this guy, you can also place text box options so that when you do your left trigger click on whatever person is there, they'll talk to you and tell you that this princess has been kidnapped, and has been kidnapped by the evil Gregor, I guess. We'll just say that for now. And then sort of send you to go to a cave to go find that princess back, or to find the secret treasure that's been stolen from the castle, or whatever. And then you could place, like, guards in the towers and have them have dialogue boxes, and you could place wizards around and have them have dialogue, and just have this whole expansive world-building thing that could happen from this game. Yes, there's signposts that you can do that can do text box, but I mean, let's take that one step further and make it so that there is a full world that you can build, that you can take and basically just make sequenced events happen, and it's essentially would be like if you were putting a 3D mode to RPG Maker, or if you were basically just adding RPG Maker to Minecraft. Because the thing about it is, Minecraft's world building system is perfect. It is set up wonderfully. Yes, it's not the best graphical thing, but I've seen mods on YouTube and stuff like that where they have realistic clouds and realistic water and stuff like that. I know they can sort of up the graphics with this, and that's a potential thing that they can do here. But even if it was just the whole blocky Minecraft graphics, having a world, having a story mode built into that, having something that you could build a story into that, and then unleash those worlds onto the internet for people to experience a full story mode with random encounters, maybe not random encounters, but with encounters with enemies, with a battle system, with all of that, there is so much potential for them to do a Minecraft RPG. And honestly, like I've said before, this is a license to print money. This is an opportunity to sort of take Minecraft and just do something different with it while still keeping that whole creative flair that Minecraft is known for. The world is yours. Do with what you will with it. Make whatever you want with it. And if you still want to just build the world the way you do, or build towers or burn things, that's totally up to you. You can keep doing that. But for people who want to take it to that next level and build stories around it, you could make warring kingdoms, you could make all sorts of things, that's where Minecraft RPG would really stand out. And I don't know, I could be barking up the wrong tree here. What do you think? Do you think a Minecraft RPG would do well? I think it would. I think it would be easy for them to pull it off and just take things to the next level. But that's all I've got for you on that one. When we come back, I'm going to talk about some of the games that I've been playing through the Xbox the last little bit. The next game we're talking about is Bloodstained: Curse of the Moon 2. I'm Jeff Johnson. This is the new Game On podcast.
You're listening to Game On.
Tremble in fear at our 3 different types of ships. This is Morbo, the newscaster. Today's forecast, doom, unless you're listening to Game On.
The new Game On podcast continues. Here's Jeff.
And it is the new Game On podcast. I am Jeff Johnson, and the next thing I want to talk to you about is kind of disappointing. I'm sorry to say this. I'm sort of giving away the vibe of this feature as we get it started, but I got a chance to play Bloodstained: Curse of the Moon 2, and honestly, I wasn't expecting too much from it. Bloodstained: Curse of the Moon 2, if you haven't played the Bloodstained games, this is basically Castlevania done with a whole new title, because Konami won't give up the stupid license for Castlevania to the guy who made the games, so he made Bloodstained. And so we got Bloodstained: Curse of the Moon, we got Bloodstained: Curse of the Moon 2, and there's also the sort of more modern one that's kind of like Symphony of the Night. I'm drawing a blank on the name of that at the moment, but if you give me 1 second, I might have that name right in front of me. Bloodstained: Curse of the Moon, Bloodstained: Curse of the Moon 2 is out there. Both of them great games, great takes on Castlevania 3. But here's my problem that I have with Curse of the Moon 2. Curse of the Moon 1 was done as this sort of basically fun add-on. Hey, thanks for helping fund the Bloodstained game that we wanted to make. Here's an NES-style game of this for you to play. And then it did extremely well. And so then they thought, well, let's do a Curse of the Moon 2. And, this uses characters from the Bloodstained universe. I can't believe we're already saying Bloodstained universe from 3 games, but here we go. And, the characters that are in there, you've got you've got the main guy, Zangetsu, you've got the other 3 characters, one of them's an exorcist, one of them's a sniper soldier, and the other one is a corgi piloting a magical steampunk train suit of armor. It's just so cool to even think about that. The fact that it's a little corgi piloting a mech suit of armor. But there you go. There's your 4 characters. And I hate to say this, but like when I got playing the game, like when I got playing episode 1 of the game, because I mean, yes, I've beaten episode 1, but I haven't beaten all the other sort of episodes. Like, basically, there's different scenarios with this game. The first one is your traditional playthrough. The second one, you have all the characters from the start, and you play through again. And from what I understand, there's also a third one that I don't know too much about. But, I don't know, from episode 1, I just got the feeling of more of the same from the first one. And, like, I like the balance of the 4 characters that you had in Curse of the Moon 1. Like, just the 4 characters that you got to use there, like you had your main character Zangetsu, who had the big sword, and, you know, he's your traditional character, sort of like a Belmont. Then you also had the girl with the spear, the girl with the whip, who could jump higher than the main character. Sort of your Luigi, if you will. Your third character was a wizard who could use magical spells. And then finally you had basically not Alucard. I say that because it's Alucard. Let's be honest. The vampire can turn into a bat. It's Alucard. And like, he was there and he could get you to different places as long as you controlled it properly. So, I mean, the balance of those 4 characters was great, and they sort of presented the same sort of balance here with these 4 characters, because, I mean, Zangetsu's your sword user, your exorcist can jump higher and uses a spear so she can reach further enemies, then you have your sniper character who can shoot enemies at a distance, and, of course, the Corgi, who just wrecks everything. Like, he can destroy spikes with his invincible mode, so you can walk through them. And at the same time, he's also got, like, a huge pool of life that can basically help him sort of tank through tougher areas. And I guess what I found with this game was there was a lot more cases where I needed to use multiple characters at the same time to get to secret areas, to get to areas in this game. I found the bosses in this game played more Mega Man-y as opposed to playing like a Castlevania boss. And at the same time, I look at all the bosses that are in this game, and none of them are, to me, as memorable as some of the bosses in that first game. Like, your first boss in the first Curse of the Moon was the train monster, which just looked cool. From there, you also had the sort of coin spirit, who basically just controls the different elements of the level by making large piles of coins for you to jump from. And then there was also that big flying battle with that lightning guy from the first game, and those bosses were really cool. In this game, like, you have some large boss fights, like the first one, that dragon is pretty cool, but I'd be hard-pressed to tell you much about the other bosses. Like, I basically just got through them and that was it. A final boss looked really cool. Like, it kind of reminded me of the final Dracula fight from Symphony of the Night. But, yeah, just looking at it, like, I still have no clue who the main villain of this game series is. Like, they haven't sort of developed that as well as I would hope. Because, I mean, in the Castlevania games, it's Dracula. You know who Dracula is. You know Dracula's there. That's that. And I know they're establishing this new mythos with Bloodstained, but to me, the final boss villain that's been in these games just has not stood out. So, yeah, like, I do like the style of the sort of Castlevania Metroidvania style games, but this one just, you know, it's okay. That's about where I'm at with it. It's okay, and I like the first one better. So that's my thoughts on Curse of the Moon 2. Next up, I hate to say it, it's not going to get too much better for us. We're going to be talking about Knights of Pen and Paper +1 Deluxier Edition. That's quite the mouthful of a title, and we'll be talking about that next. I'm Jeff Johnson. This is the New Game On podcast.
This is Quentin Flynn here, but you may remember me as Raiden. And you're listening to Game On.
It's all about the game. And how you play it, all about control, if you can take it. Do you think that we could play another game? Maybe I could win this time. Time to play the game. Time to play
listening to Game On with Jeff Johnson.
Game On, your new favorite podcast on today's drive to work.
Mamma mia!
We set high standards here. Here's Jeff.
And it's the new Game On podcast. I am Jeff Johnson. Thank you for joining us once again, another week here as we talk about the different games that I play. And you know what? I had a friend of mine just sort of talking with me the other day just about the podcast and sort of was like, hey, I haven't heard much of your podcast yet. If you could describe it to me, how would you describe it? And basically what I said was, you know, this is, I guess the best way to put it is it's cathartic. It's an opportunity for me to just sort of, you know, sit back, relax, talk with you guys about my gaming collection, talk with you about the games that I have been playing, and just sort of get my thoughts out there about many of the different games that are out there for everybody to play. And my only hope from this is, as much as it is a sort of release for me to sort of get a chance to talk about these things and get it out there, I hope that you hear me talking about these games and think to yourself, you know, that sounds like an interesting game. I will give that a go. Or, you know, maybe he's right. Maybe I don't want to pick up that game. And, like, just sitting here right now, I'm looking at my Xbox One. I've got it on the TV. There are 432 games downloaded onto my hard drive that's connected to it, and also on the Xbox One itself. If you want an idea of just where my collection is at, because it is insane. I have no delusions of grandeur about this. I am what you would call a medium collector. I'm not, like, I wouldn't say I have full collections, and I don't hope to ever have full collections of systems, but I have a ridiculous number of games, and it's stupidity on my part, because there's so many games that I can still play that I should play, and then all of a sudden I'll see Far Cry 3 for $3. Yeah, I'll buy that. So, like, the collection is ever growing, and it's just kind of dumb for me to keep it going that way. But then you see games that you think to yourself, you know what, this game looks interesting. I want to pick it up and I want to give it a try. Because the problem is, too, back in the old days, we had Blockbuster Video or Rogers Video or God knows, Jumbo Video is another one, and all sorts of video rental places where you could go in, rent a video game, play it for a bit, and be like, yeah, that one's not for me, and then send it back. Because there's a lot of times where you see a game that you think to yourself, you know what, Kingdom Hearts looks great. Or you think to yourself, you know what, I'd love to play that new Tomb Raider game or that new Lego game. But you don't think to yourself, you know what, that's a game that I must have, you know? It's basically a thought of, I want to enjoy this, let's give it a go. And so that's kind of the thought I had when I came across Knights of Pen and Paper +1 Deluxier Edition. First off, the name caught me because it's just such a weird name. You know, like, I mean, the Knights and Pen and Paper thing, yeah, that makes sense. But then adding in that +1 Deluxier Edition almost sounds like we're getting into bloody Kingdom Hearts style names, you know, 358 2 days or whatever. But I look at that game, and then I watch the trailer for it on the Xbox store. And the long story short of this one is you are playing as somebody playing as a character in a Dungeons and Dragons game. And so, like, you're basically what's going on is at the front of the screen, like in the foreground, is a table with the characters that you make for this Dungeons and Dragons game, with stereotypical characters like your nerd, your pizza guy, your granny, basically people to start your characters. And then from there, you pick their character class that they make for their characters, which can be like rogues and barbarians and knights and paladins and stuff like that. So looking at that, it's a layer on top of a layer for character development, which is really unique for me. And then as you do things, you get more money from your different missions that you can use to buy and expand either your game world where you're playing around, which can affect your stats in-game, or you can basically buy more people to join on your journey, or you can buy different items that you can eat while playing this Dungeons and Dragons game, which also boosts your stats. So in that regard, it's a very unique premise, and I've tried playing this game twice now. I've given it a couple of hours both times. And I just don't know if it's for me. Like, I've tried. I will be honest here. I've put in a few hours into this game now, and it's like, I guess for me, the thing I think about is when I want to do a Dungeons & Dragons campaign, because I've always sort of had that interest, like I'd like to get into a Dungeons & Dragons campaign, and I just never do. Like, it's sitting there as like, this seems neat, but I don't do it. I've done games like Amazing Tales. I played an adult version of Amazing Tales, and then I've also hosted Amazing Tales games for my kids. And I love the idea of creating characters or creating a story for those games to go. But I think that is the element that is missing from this game. The way to sort of create your story as you go, or basically, yeah, there are these different characters that you can choose from, that you can make characters with, but it's not like a freedom to make a full character for yourself. You know, like almost like there's too much of a guideline there for what types of characters you can make, as opposed to what characters you can actually make, or even just making something completely from scratch. Like, you know, there is the freedom to do whatever you want, like with Minecraft, like I was talking about earlier. There's basically, here's some set roles that you can do, let's see how it goes. And in that regard, I think this is a case that I might have to give it a bit more time, but this is the second time I've picked up this game to try it, and I'm just not hooked yet. So, I don't know, like, this is again going back to that, what I was talking about before, about the idea of needing the option to do a rental system. Like, this is something I've really liked about Game Pass, which is a good thing, because there's been quite a few games that I've downloaded through Game Pass lately, like Night Call and The Messenger, that are quality games, and I probably wouldn't have picked up if I didn't actually get a chance to play it for free, or, you know, through the rental subscription service. But at the same time, yeah, like, it's good to have the opportunity to sort of play games like that. And I really sort of miss the days of the video store, where you would go in and rent a game and be like, okay, let's see how this game goes. And then you get home and 4 hours later decide you hate the game and don't want to play it again. So it's like, well, good thing it was a rental for $5, you know, as opposed to renting, you know, buying something for full price of $30, $40, $50, $60. Sometimes a game is good and, you know, all the power to you, but it just doesn't fit with you. And it's just not a good game for you to play. Past examples of that for me were BioShock Infinite. I never got into that game. I played it for a few hours and I just did not enjoy it as much as I thought I would. The Lego games are another example of this, because like, I like playing the Lego games. I really do like playing the Lego games, but it's not something I'm gonna sit and play forever. But anyway, I'm kind of just sort of reserving my judgment on Knights of Pen and Paper. I might give it some more time yet. We'll see what happens. But if you've ever seen it and you like that sort of Dungeons & Dragons thing, maybe you want to check it out. Maybe it's the thing for you. In any case, that's it for me this week's episode. I'm probably not going to... You know what? I'm just going to say it right now. I'm not going to be here for next week's episode. Next Wednesday, I'm actually going to be out camping at Moye Provincial Park. So I know I'm not going to be available for next week's episode, but we'll be back in August for our next episode of the show. So thanks for joining us this week. It's been great. And you're listening to the new Game On podcast with Jeff Johnson. You can find us on youtube.com/GameOnGNT, or you can check us out on Spreaker.com, Anchor, and a whole variety of other podcasts. And don't forget to check us out on jjplayseverything.blogspot.com. I totally just bashed that. It's WordPress! This is what happens when you do one of these extras without a script.